Hi, and thank you for joining us at Targeted West. I have a little intro to play, and then we're going to get on with the show. So come on in.
From across the country and around the world, a weekly targeted individual conference call focused on support, discussion, and the Fourth Industrial Revolution, featuring a special TIBookClub segment. This is Targeted West, and here's your host, DJ Chris. The opinions expressed by participants are their own and not necessarily those of Targeted West.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, it's show number 210. We're here live in beautiful Lodi, California. It is the 3rd day of May, 2026, and we have a guest tonight. The temperature right now is 66 degrees. And my name is DJ Chris. I'm your moderator. We have a website if you'd like to check it out. If you're watching this recording or listening, TargetedWest.com. Plus, I'm on Substack, which is TargetedWest.substack.com, and you can join the book club, which is bookclubs.com/TIBookClub/join. And we have a guest tonight whose book was one of the very first that we shared with each other in the book club 10 years ago via email before we had a platform. And she's with us tonight, it's Rosanne Schneider, making her come back to the community after a long, silent part of going away for a while due to issues in her life, and she's going to share all that with us tonight. So without further ado, welcome, Rosanne. How are you?
Thank you, Chris. I'm hanging in there. Yes, there's a reason for my long absence, and you're about to find that out. I've had quite the adventure, but I appreciate being pulled back into the community because I've really missed it. And for a long time, I was on a lot of the conference calls, but I was not allowed to speak. I would be horrifically tortured if I opened my mouth. So, yeah, hopefully that's not going to happen tonight. I pray to God it doesn't. My voice is a little raspy. I have been targeted recently and made ill, but I am recovering, and I really appreciate this opportunity to address the community. So thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad to have you here. A lot of people are coming in the call right now, and a lot of people know you and support you and are very glad to hear from you again, especially on the playback when people are able to hear this.
Thank you.
So tell us what happened, whatever you feel is appropriate to share, that made you go away for a while, besides being zapped in the heart. Something else happened besides that?
Yeah. I was living in Sonoma County, California. That is home of Bohemian Grove. It's also where a lot of my targeting abuse occurred. And there were several attempts on my life in that location. And one day somebody put a crutch on my lawn. And shortly after that, I was pushed by some kind electronic force, and I severely broke my leg in 2 places. My right femur. It was quite a severe injury. I ended up in the hospital after crawling through the house, pulling my leg to the front door to scream for help. I was alone at the time. I got into the hospital, and I was immediately attacked by directed energy when I got in there. So I'm in there with a severely broken compound fracture of my right femur. And they gave me all these heart tests. They said, we need to make sure that you can survive surgery. So I passed them all. And they said, okay, we're going to fix your leg. And then I went into surgery. I survived the surgery. When I got out, they wanted to give me open heart surgery. They said I was like ready to die. Okay? And I thought back and I said, wait a minute. I just pulled myself through my entire house with a severely broken leg. When the paramedics came, the first thing they did was my vital signs. That's standard. They did not put me on oxygen. They did not mention any heart abnormalities. And I started to get suspicious. So I just told everybody, no, I'm fine. Just fix the leg, please. Okay? But I got very concerned that this was indeed a, plot to murder me. The reason I said that was that I had had several murder attempts on the ground in Sonoma County. I had my brake lines cut in my car. I had a tire shot out on the road. I was almost driven off a cliff. And I was being horrifically targeted in the heart area every single day of my life. And fortunately, I discovered magnetics and shielding and got through it. But I just felt my life was, really in danger. Unbeknownst to me, there were other people watching over me. And I don't get B2K, okay? I just get massive physical torture. One day, but it was very, very, very painful. I had to use all my shielding and develop deep breathing and, do everything I could just to get through it. And it was daily, and it was getting worse. It was getting worse. They were attacking everything. my animals, everything. You know how it plays out. One day, in desperation, I was alone in my home that I shared with another target. And I called out to the universe or to God, who the hell is doing this? And keep in mind, I don't get BTK. I get this thought in my head. It comes through like a thought. And the thought was special operations. And I thought, what? That wasn't my thought. Okay? So I'm walking around kind of dazed and confused. What the hell was that? So a few weeks later, I'm under terrific attack. This was before the broken leg. After the other attempts at my life, in my opinion. I'm outside looking at nature, trying to, compose myself. And I get another thought. And that thought was, you have a case worth $100 million. And I said, what is this? What it was brain-to-brain communication with military. Okay? They've perfected it. Military has brain-to-brain communication. That's how they communicate with people like special forces. Now, the special forces division of military is kind of like the CIA. They are underground, very secretive, and they deal in hostage rescue is one of the things they do. So I talked back to this thought, and I said, $100 million, huh? I said, is it dangerous? So I get the thought back, no, but it has to be done right. Now, I know nothing about brain-to-brain communication, but I'm thinking, these are not my thoughts, so I'm kind of, though, waking up that this is real communication. How brain-to-brain differs from B2K is it's two-way. That's the difference. B2K just comes into your head. There's no response. You can't respond to it. This was actually communication happening. Okay? So, then the whole broken leg thing happened. I was in rehab. I was in the hospital in rehab 5 weeks. When I got out, my boss was dead. He's quite old. He was another victim. And my housemate was another victim. He was gone. I had no idea where he was. And he was a tenant. So the net result in money to me was a loss of $2,000 a month. And I could no longer afford my home. So, but I had just gotten out of the hospital. I couldn't walk. I was on a walker, struggling to recover. I was expected to recover the ability to walk. But it was a very, very bad break. And I talked to my property manager. She was quite good. She gave me some sources that might help me pay the rent. One of them did do that. I was allowed to stay there until I recovered my ability to walk, thank God. But I was alone in the house. I was being targeted, but not quite so much. But I had to leave. There was no way I could keep my home. And so I started thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? All of a sudden, another victim, she was actually worked in law. I had been working with her. I was copy editor and public speaker for a wealthy, targeted individual. That's what I was doing before all this. She called me up out of the blue. And she says, my God, what happened to you? I told her. And she said, look, I just had a really wealthy boyfriend die. And she said, he left me all this money. She says, I want to come over and buy you a van so you're not out in the streets. I'd given up driving because my cars had been destroyed and it was just too dangerous. I was being driven off the road, brake lines cut, etc. So I said, praise the Lord. I said, thank you so much. So she came over. I bought a pretty nice van. And then another targeted individual who I will love until the day I die, called me up and said, God put you in my heart. I'm on the East Coast. You disappeared. I'm very worried about you. So I told her what happened. And she says, oh, my God. She says, look, I'm doing well financially. She says, I have room in my house. And I said, look, I can barely walk, and I've got to get out of here in a month. This was about, I guess it was December of 2024 that all this was happening. And she says, look, why don't I fly there? You've got the van, and we'll drive across the country to where I am together. And I said, oh, my God, I don't believe this, God's just coming through for me, or somebody is, okay? So I was out in the streets in the van for a couple of months before she showed up. In a very cold winter, but I survived. And she showed up, and we had a drive across the country. It was horrendous. I was targeted all the way. We both were. We just kept going. It was winter. We had to take the southern route. There were cell phone towers every mile, it seemed. We were on a trucking route. We were forced to drive really fast. We just kept going. I could only drive a couple hours at a time because the leg I broke was my gas leg, and it just wouldn't hold up very long. So she took over, and somehow we got to the East Coast. Anyways, to make a long story a little shorter, I ended up in a military town on the coast of South Carolina. Quite a beautiful town, actually. This is basically Air Force training here. The town is populated by veterans and targets. They're everywhere. And I'm like, what's going on? When I got to the East Coast, I was trying to figure out what to do. I mean, I didn't have enough money. I chose not to live with the TI who helped me across the country because she was having trouble with family. They needed to be alone. So I was on my own, and that's when military contacted me a lot. That's when they made it known that they had brought me here. Then they said, we had to get you out of there. They're going to kill you. We had to get you out of there. And they told me, first of all, they had told me back in California that I was MK Ultra. And I just didn't remember it. My memory had been wiped, that I had been raped repeatedly and used for pornography at age 3. But I had no memory of this. Here's how advanced brain science is. They actually downloaded some of my memory and played it back to me. They didn't play the rape back, thank God, but they played enough so I knew it was real, and I realized that I had behavior difficulties as a child that just, told me that this was legit. Another thing they did when I was back in California, they said, we want you to write a book about your life. It was the pandemic. We couldn't get out of our houses. This is interesting. They gave me a bag of marijuana. To military, marijuana is a truth drug. And they said, write a book about your life. So I was, once the military tells you you're MK Ultra, everything started falling into place. I had a lot of time to think about this. I was stuck in the house. I just thought about everything that happened in my life. And everything suddenly made sense. You know, it was like my whole life suddenly made sense. There was a lot of honeypots, financial sabotage. There was something wrong with my father. I now know he was CIA. My mother was also targeted and pushed into alcoholism. I just went through my life and thought, oh my God, that's why that happened, because my life was surreal, basically. I was always having to deal with the unexpected. And a lot of sexual programming, all kinds of weird stuff going on in my life that I kind of thought was normal, but not quite. Right? So I wrote the book, Notes from an Engineered Life, for military. And so when I got to the East Coast and I was alone in my van, military contacted me every day, brain to brain. It's a amazing science. I got used to it. We could talk with our brains. They didn't have to be here, and they've had it for years. This is common for them. And the first thing they did was they put me in touch with a psychologist who helped me through my MK Ultra memories. They wanted me, they wanted me strong because they had a plan for me. And so I had a lot of psychological counseling, just sitting in a parking lot, all by myself, in a van. I knew that this was legit. I knew it was military because they also gave me all kinds of information about the technology that we are suffering from, okay? Which just delighted me. And they also gave me survival training, which I didn't appreciate at all, which meant now you're going to get up on your own 2 feet all by yourself, and you're going to reclaim your life from all this. That was really hard, but I was surrounded. Yeah. Oh, God, yeah, I was all by myself in a parking lot in a van. But I was surrounded by targets who had become my friends and were helpful. I wasn't telling them what was happening, but I had a lot of on-foot support. We were helping each other, but at the same time, I was completely financially sabotaged. I lost a whole lot of my Social Security, my little travel nest egg was gone. I wasn't in any shape to go get a job. I still did not have enough strength in that broken leg.
That's crazy. Let's
Yeah,
go ahead and take a little quick break for a message from our friends at TI Events, if you don't mind, and then we'll come back and talk about your books a little bit.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Hosting a conference call?
Planning a rally?
Launching a workshop?
Then why isn't it listed on TIEvents.org? TI Events is where the TI community looks.
And if it's a major event?
They'll even build you a complimentary dedicated event page with full details and RSVP capability.
So, more visibility?
Absolutely. More visibility, bigger audiences, and the reach your event deserves. TIEvents.org. List your event today.
Complimentary pages available for select events.
That's TIEvents.org. Now back to Rosanne. How are you? You're doing great. Are you being attacked at all, or are you okay?
No, I'm not, which is, wonderful. This is the first time I've been able to speak on a conference call without being attacked. So this is wonderful.
Very
which
good.
gets to the next point. I got through the survival training, okay? I got back on my own 2 feet. I had a lot of friends. I was surviving. That's what they were trying to bring about. First, I had the counseling. Then they wanted me to reclaim my life. And they said, I was mad at them for this. I said, put me up in a hotel. But they wouldn't do that. They made me do it because they needed me to rebuild my emotional strength. I had been through so much. So I did. And then they said, look, you're protected, okay? We cannot stop your targeting. But they were continuing to teach me how to deal with it, what was being done to me, how long it would last, how to deal with this, okay? But they said, we can't stop it, but you're protected, and they proved that. I had Marines all around me all the time. There was never a time that I didn't have military around me. I was totally protected. And they said, well, they wanted me to work for them writing and spreading information. They said they were targeted to and under attack. They could not put out information. They were being threatened with murder, and they were being forced to hit the American people with directed energy. And they wanted to expose this through me. So that's what I did for about 6 months for them. They also wanted me to talk to all the targets to get, to see how they're doing. They just wanted their phone numbers, okay? They didn't want any other information about them. They wanted me to inform a few people here who didn't know they were targeted, that they were indeed targets. They had certain things they wanted me to do, and I did them. This is real. This is real. They were giving me constant technical information. I knew it was real. They were telling me everything. This is how we do this. This is how we do this. we can do this, we can do this. I mean, the playbook for targeting, you would not believe. A lot of it's being done with AI, okay? A lot of it. That's enabling a lot of this crap we're going through. They were also teaching me how to shield myself, resist the attacks. For instance, most attacks will only last 2 minutes, okay? They were telling me everything they knew, so I knew this was real. They were also promising a resolution. They were basically at Shriver Air Force Base in Colorado, pretending to follow orders, but they were also talking to me. And this could not be traced because it was brain-to-brain communication. And I said, guys, they're going to murder you. They said, no. They could not figure out. We got 5,000 soldiers in this facility. They will never find out who the leakers are. Okay? So that's where we are now. They are promising a resolution to our targeting coming up soon. I do not trust anybody in military, and they taught me not to trust anybody in military because they are also dealing with infiltration. They said, don't trust anybody in military. Don't even trust us. Okay? So I am now waiting to see if what they're telling me is psychological operations or real. Looking at the news and how things are progressing, by the way, they just named one of the commanding officers who's running this program publicly on Facebook. And he will probably soon be arrested. And I just reported on that. Okay? So, things are looking good. This is going to take a little time to clean up, but we're, I would say, on our way to having this stop. That being said, I'm waiting to see if I'm in a psychological operations program or if this is real. Because targeting on this level includes things like psychological operations, which can include false hope, lies, all kinds of, mind games. But I'm looking at the facts. Every day they direct me to the news that they want broadcast. And I'm looking at the facts. And things are looking good, guys. They have one of the main military commanders in charge of our targeting right now in their vision. It's just been reported on Facebook. Okay? And it was verified by the people I'm dealing with. So that's where I've been.
That's a long journey to go through. No wonder people have been asking, and I'm glad to have you here with us.
Yeah.
I read your book today, the one about your childhood and all that, and you also have two other books on Amazon that are interesting. I know one is the first book you wrote, which was in the book club, but in 2016 was Surveillance, Torture, and Control in the Modern World, a collection of links to inform the general public about the crimes of organized stalking and electronic harassment. So does that include some of your experiences that you gained through the military in that book?
No, that is mostly an expose of what was happening at that time. That's from 2015, which included all the proof I could find. All the Facebook groups, how many were in there, all the petitions, every bit of proof I could find. You know, at that point I was just trying to prove this is really happening. I got into a lot of the technology, but I was really trying to prove that this was a reality in that book. And that book did quite well, actually. It got a lot of good reviews, including from some very important people that meant a lot to me. So, yeah, that's not about all my experiences. The one that's about all my experiences is Notes from an Engineered Life, because that not only covers MK Ultra, which is wild. I mean, I've had a wild life. But that goes right into the targeting as well in great detail, because they told me to write a book about my whole life, and that's what I did. And at that point, I had so much targeting. It was a total takedown. You know, it's like everything. Torture
I know
every
that.
day.
I started out as a landlord, and then I ended up in a camper.
Yeah. Oh, look, I was an international businesswoman. I had property. I had a husband. I had, you know, a very, very nice life. And it was just all destroyed. Everything. I had house fires. I had everything you can imagine. It was just, you know, people killed in my life all over the place. Daily torture. Had all my teeth knocked out. I just couldn't believe what was happening to me. I couldn't believe it, you know. Thank God I found the targeted individual community in the conference calls. You know, as I discovered, oh my God, this is some kind of program. I knew it was military. Nobody else had the capability to put me under a table and knock my teeth out. I mean,
yeah, your fusion centers are run by the military and the DOJ, so yeah, they're involved ever since 9/11 for sure.
this just had to be military, but I had no idea whose military. This had to be military. I had no doubt in my mind. I did learn how to shield myself quite well. I used to talk about the shielding on Derek's call a lot. I basically used a very, very strong magnet. I have it right next to me right now, and metal mesh over my head, which military actually gave me. We also had a lot of talk about shielding, what I could do, how I could protect myself, and somehow I got through it. But this was 15 years of daily torture. And, the torture started when I was 58. I'm 72 now. I have not known one day since
mine started, I was 43 and now I'm 65, so.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. And, before that, I had a whole life of this. It wasn't the same, it wasn't daily torture, but basically my whole life was controlled. They put me where they wanted to put me. They took me to San Francisco from Boston because they wanted to push me into drugs and sexuality and all this stuff. I was 19 years old. I didn't do it. I came from a good, loving family. I didn't do it, thank God. The most I ever did in drugs was marijuana. But they wanted to ply me with LSD. They wanted me part of that movement. They kept putting honeypots in my life, guys that would come into my life and then hurt me. And these were wonderful people, actually. They were victims. And they did hurt me. But I loved them anyways. And, I maintained good relationships. I protected myself. But I was very strong. I was very strong throughout my life because I had to be. I was always in trouble. I was always in trouble.
When I was a kid, I was a mess. And my dad was a Freemason, a Master Mason, matter of fact, and I found out years later that they like to mess with each other's kids, so they were manipulating me.
Oh, I heard that.
They were manipulating me as a kid to do stupid things.
I was stalked by Freemasons in Sonoma County. I mean, I couldn't even go out. I couldn't even go out in the community. There was always someone following me. They were all tradesmen. They were leaving like dead roses on my car and all this crap. Some of them seemed to be really into it. Some of them looked embarrassed. This is very serious.
Yeah, I know it is. Do you mind if we go to Q&A mode and see if people have questions for you?
Of course. Go right ahead.
You have 60 people in the call right now, so you got a good crowd.
Good.
And, so we'll go ahead and switch modes to... Hi, if you want to talk with Rosanne, hit *6 and come on in and ask author Rosanne Schneider some questions. Come on in. You're on Targeted West. Go ahead, guest with the hands up. You're next.
Yes, hi, Rosanne. And when you said yours was military, do you know what branch of service?
Special operations.
That's mine too. I worked at Eglin Air Force Base, but I also had some from Herbert Field to Special Ops.
Yeah, they're the people that are kind of underground, and they specialize. One of their specialties is hostage rescue. So they rescue me literally from death. You know, I owe them gratitude. They are being horrifically targeted like we are. But one of the things they told me is that military is mind controlled. That's an important thing they told me. They told me that over and over and over again. They're very, very concerned about the situation going on in military. It is also infiltrated. So they're trying.
That.
Yeah, you. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, I didn't get saved yet. I missed the first part, so I apologize.
I recorded that for you, Eileen.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I always listen to it on YouTube if I missed the beginning. But yeah, I worked at Eglin Air Force Base for about a year. But even before I worked there, I had Herbert Field psych ops guys messing with me in Wisconsin. There's a whole group of them, and then some of them are pilots.
Yeah. Well, you know that you might have heard of the Super Soldier program. That's where the military are literally chipped. Okay? To enhance their abilities. Well, it does other things. It mind controls them. So
yeah, I think they want to make me a super soldier. Yeah, I agree with that.
Right. And they told me I was chipped as a baby too. Okay, to enhance
Was that when you became a foster, perhaps?
Yeah, my mom had to give me away for the first 3 years, and she put me in a Catholic foster home while she pulled her life together, because my father was CIA and had destroyed her. And I had surgery there, and I was told by military I had been chipped in the brain because as a baby your skull is soft. They said, don't worry, it was to enhance your intellectual abilities, but it's also used for mind control. And they also said the Super Soldier program of the military was to mind. It not only enhanced intellectual ability, some physical ability, but it was used to mind control our soldiers. So a lot of the soldiers that are doing this to us are mind controlled to do it. This is the mess we're in.
I believe you. I believe that. Let's see if anybody else has a question for you. Roseanne. Anyone else have a question for Roseanne? Come on in.
Hello. Hi. Thank you
Hello.
so much, DJ Chris, and then the author. Thank you so much for your even writing the book and withstanding everything and to share now. I think this is one of the first times I've heard the view from the people who are, some of whom are harming us. I think it's just amazing, but you're actually getting to see the human side to them as well. I mean, of course, it's still a terrible act, but the human side. Do you think? Do you have a sense? You mentioned like there were always Marines around you, but do you have a sense of, at least for that group you were involved with, the percentage that kind of don't like what they're doing?
Oh yeah, they're horrified. I think I mentioned, and I want to make this very clear, they're being tortured like we are to do it. Okay? They're horrified. And if they don't do it, they will be murdered. Okay? This is what they told me. And I can tell that this is true. Because when they talk to me, brain to brain doesn't just transfer thoughts from one brain to another. And that's a pretty simple thing to understand. It's just decoding brain waves and sending them through a computer from one to another, just like V2K, okay? It can also transfer emotion, okay, from one person to another. And one of these guys, they did that. So I could feel his emotions. We spend a lot of time crying together. This guy is in psychological pain. He does not want to be hurting his fellow Americans. He's been tortured just like we have for, well, most of his life in military.
So do you think that's why there's so many suicides?
I think that, yeah, well, they're all hooked up to brain machinery. So if they want them to commit suicide, they can just, order it.
They hook them up so they can check for dissent, because anybody who dissents or goes against them, they can isolate.
What I'm telling you is they're mind controlled. So if they want to get rid of soldiers, and they do want to get rid of veterans because they don't want this stuff getting out, if they want to get rid of veterans, they just mind control them to suicide. Okay? Because mind control is being used on a military. It has been used on a military for many, many years.
Incredible. Let's see if someone else has a question for you. Anybody else with a question for Roseanne? Come on in.
Hi, Roseanne. This is Alan from Salem.
Hi.
Hi there. Yes, thank you for being. When I saw DJ Chris had you on, I was really, really glad to see. It's like I remember getting one of your first books, the one that about the surveillance and torture. So thank you for being on. I was wondering, one of the things you were talking about, just I'm curious about, like for shielding, you're talking about metal mesh and a strong magnet. I just wanted to know what kind of like a strength of magnet you like to use, and also if you think Havana syndrome, what's your thoughts on the Havana syndrome when it comes to this? Thank you.
Okay, sure. I'm using a 360-pound pole neodymium magnet. 360-pound pole refers to the strength of the magnet. Let's say you put that on a metal wall, you can hang 360 pounds from it before it will give way. That's a very, very strong magnet. If you buy one, which you can buy for about $60, you must be extremely careful with it. Don't go near your kitchen knives, okay?
Okay.
And don't put it in your pocket. I've made this mistake. And go next to your friends' cars. You'll stick to the car, okay? It's a very, very strong magnet. But it will pull you out of a lot of the targeting. It has done wonders for me, okay? Some of it won't. If it depends on where the targeting is. If the targeting, all the targeting is running from your brain down your spine and through your nervous system, it's all coming from the brain, every bit of it. So you're trying to interfere with the path, okay? If they're targeting your leg, you know where the path is. Okay, that's a pretty simple nervous system on your leg. You can interfere, you can find a point where you can shut off that pain with the magnet. If they're targeting a deeper organ, you're going to have a little bit of trouble shutting it down with the magnet. It depends where it is, okay? But it will work in a lot of situations. I couldn't have survived without it. I'll go that far. Okay?
All right. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Next person in line to speak with Roseanne, come on in.
Yes. Hello, Roseanne. This is Betty from Alabama, and I am so happy to hear from you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Oh, yes. I've been wondering where you are. I'm telling you, I'm so glad to hear you. I sure am, and sorry you had to go through all of that. And I remember when you first got injured, and you were sharing with us, and so thank God you're back. Thank God you're back.
Thank you, honey.
Stay encouraged, and we'll continue to pray for you in Jesus' name, okay? I just wanted to say that I'm so glad to hear. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. God bless you.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. And thank you, DJ Chris.
Yeah, I have missed the community.
I knew a lot of people were looking for Roseanne, so I'm glad I was able to make this happen. Anybody else have a question for Roseanne? Come on in.
How long did it take you to... Hi, this is Laura, Colorado. How long did it take you to write your book?
To write my book? Months. It's a long book, and I went over and over and over it again. And, I was stuck in the house with the pandemic, so I was in no hurry. like I said, military actually gave me marijuana because they consider it a truth drug. And I was a user. I used it for MK Ultra to, it deals with PTSD pretty well, actually. But that, I kept reading the book over and over and over and over and over and over. It took a long, long time. It probably took about 6 months to write this book. And it's very complete. It's a whole lifetime going from, 3 years old to 72. Well, at the time I wrote it, I was 68, I think, 67. So, it covers an entire life. And there's quite a lot about the phase of targeting that we're all in. There's a lot of description about everything that was being done to the targets. There's also, some, I always, when I write a book, there are going to be there's going to be factual information in there. There's going to be quotes from CIA documentation. I try to provide proof of what I'm saying because this is so. One of the reasons they're getting away with this is because it's so over the top abusive. Nobody believes it. So I'm always...
That is true. That is very true, Roseanne. Does anybody else have a question for Roseanne tonight on Targeted West? Come on in.
I had another question. I wanted to know, did you ever hear how to get that $100 million? Did they ever did the voice ever tell you, do this, this, and this for your lawsuit?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. What was that? Could you repeat the question, please?
Oh, yes, thanks. I said, did you ever learn how to prosecute a case for yourself to get some compensation? That voice told you about $100 million, but whether it's that amount or not, did they give you any tips how to prosecute your case?
No. I'm going to need a lawyer. This is a very serious case. I will tell you this, if MK Ultra, the military was responsible for the abuse of MK Ultra. They're not too happy about that. It was military psychologists who had to run MK Ultra, and they had no choice about it. Well, guess what? Because it was military, and military really is sick right now of everything that's gone on with them and with everybody else in this country, all the criminality. They have all the MK Ultra files.
Oh, I'm sure they do, yeah.
They told me, this is a case you can't lose. So I'm not worried about that. The problem is finding a lawyer who has the courage to get involved in this, because we're still in a place where all the good, honest lawyers are being really taken down in our country. You know, we're in a war with the deep state right now, in case you haven't noticed. And they're taking down all the good lawyers. I mean, serious abuse. They've turned them into targeted individuals. They're taking all their assets. They're disbarring them. They're doing terrible things to any honest lawyer. So the problem is going to be finding a lawyer. But I've been told that that will be resolved because we have a lot of white hats. This is real. We have a lot of military and people in high places that we don't know about that have just had it with the criminality in this country. We're at a point, if we don't correct our country, we're done. We really are in very serious trouble. So pray to God. And
I will. I agree with you. I'm seeing things I have never seen in my lifetime. That's for sure. Does anybody else have a question for Rosanne?
Positive.
Anybody else for Rosanne? Come on in. I think we ran out of people. Oh, anyone else? Come on in.
I have a question, Rosanne.
Go ahead.
Did they tell you how people or why people are selected and so late in life, the later part in life? Because there's a lot of targets like that get targeted later in life, not as like children in the MK Ultra program. Do they ever tell you about that? And then I also have another question. When you mentioned the neodymium magnets, are you just placing them on your body parts, or are they so powerful that they can interfere with the brain to brain? Or is there anything that can scramble that, like the brain to brain?
Nothing can interfere with the brain to brain, I tell you. Nothing. I've tried to interfere with it because the AI can also get involved in brain to brain and lie to you like crazy. It's all computerized, and military can't always control that. Okay, the bad guys, like I said, there's bad and good military, and the bad guys can be interfering with the good guys. So nothing can interfere with the brain to brain.
I agree. It's quantum entanglement with quantum computers doing the artificial life, which is more powerful than AI.
That's right. That's right. There's nothing that can stop this. What was the other part of the question?
The neodymium magnets that you're using, you said you use a 360 pole. When you get targeted, are you just placing it on the body parts because it's so powerful? I mean, you have to be very careful with it.
You have to be very careful with it. I would not sleep with one on. Be very careful that you do not get near anything metal or electronic with it. This is very powerful. Yes, I'm just putting it on the body part affected. I try to, go on your computer or your phone and pull up a schematic of the nervous system, which is easy to do. All of the targeting is starting in your brain, going down your spine, and then reaching wherever they want to reach. Every single thing in your body has its own frequency, and that's how they're directing your attacks. They are basically typing in a frequency. Let's say it's your right arm, or your spleen, or it could be your heart. They don't really go there. Unless they want to kill you. Your stomach. They're typing in a frequency on the computer, and everything else is AI and quantum computing. It's all automatic. You have a sensor somewhere in your body that tells the computer your identification. You are identified. I have implants on my skull. I have an MRI. You can see them. The military showed me the implants that directs the directed energy to my brain. I have implants.
Gotcha. Okay. Anybody else have a question for Rosanne before we end the recording? I guess that completes our session. You can still be here and ask more questions. I just don't like the recording to be too long because people can't hold on that long sometimes. I know I can't. So thank you for watching and listening to this on your favorite platform. Please like, subscribe, and make a comment. We'll get back with you for sure. The ending of the recording is now, and the call continues.